10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better rev than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material complications. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. He said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2019. Welcome to tonight's episode of The War Room. I'm your host, this intellectual Kate Taylor.
And I am also your host, Christopher John Taylor, but you probably know me better as Crash. We're back again to disseminate truth, think tank with you, and be the common sense rally point for the battles that lay ahead for us all. I want to say thank you for the feedback we're receiving so far on the show, and it's awesome, and we are so appreciative of your support of the show. Thank you.
Agreed. We're finding our show legs and always strive to bring the most value to this hour for you as possible. We've had requests that, despite our immensely entertaining selves, to include some more informational meat into the segments. So that's what we're going to do.
There you go. Informational meat. Now, on to the show. So the weekly poll this week was, well, the question was, what has enraged you most this week? And kind of, well, I guess not surprisingly, but 67% of you voted and said that the Muslims running in our 2020 elections was the thing that's most enraging you this week. Another 16% said other, and we actually do have a breakdown of that tonight. And 11% not using Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution to, well, do some decisive things about things. And 6% of you were very enraged about the empty 9/11 Congress hearings this week with Jon Stewart.
Yes, I know I was. I was incredibly upset about that, as everyone can imagine. I want to open, though, this week with Theo Van Gogh. Yes, Van Gogh, but it's pronounced Van Gogh.
I'm all ears.
Well, Theo is the great-grandnephew of Vincent van Gogh, who was assassinated in Amsterdam on November 2nd, 2004, by a radical Islamist. He was shot, his throat was slit, and then he was stabbed. Several passerby were injured as well. He made a short film that debuted that year called Submission, which exposed the abuse Muslim women suffer living under Islam. He was a freedom of speech fundamentalist and wasn't afraid to provoke in order to prove how intolerant they were of the idea of democracy, the religion of peace.
Ah, yes.
Granted, Theo insulted equally. Anybody worthy of insulting, he was right there doing so. He spoke his truth and didn't care who approved or disapproved. The day after the murder, the Dutch police arrested 8 Muslims associated with the Hofstad network. Now, Geert Wilders, at the time an independent member of the House of Representatives, advocated a 5-year halt to immigration from non-Western societies, saying, "The Netherlands has been too tolerant to intolerant people for too long. We should not import a retarded political Islamic society into our country."
Ooh, he said the R word.
He did. He did. I'm open with this because not only are we importing a retarded political Islamic society into the most envied and free nation on the planet, we're now allowing them to be elected to our government.
And so much more. Yeah.
That's right. Now, Pim Fortuyn was a gay Dutch politician who was anti-immigration and fought for tougher measures against crime in the Netherlands. Yep. There goes that word again. He was assassinated in 2002 by a Dutch liberal who was pro-Muslim immigration. Remind you of anybody?
Yeah.
So now on Theo's website, which he called The Healthy Smoker, he had predicted the assassination. He said, "I suspect Fortuyn will be the first in a line of politically incorrect heretics to be eliminated," he wrote. "This is what our multicultural society has brought us. A climate of intimidation in which all sorts of," I'm sorry about the profanity, but it was his words, not mine.
"Goat humpers."
Okay, you can say that too, but he actually said the F word. "Can issue their threats freely." Right. So a climate of intimidation in which all sorts of those goat can issue their threats freely. Right.
Right.
So Muslims are neither a race, ethnic group, nor nationality. As well, we know that the majority of Muslims aren't even Arab. They're African. And that not all Arabs are Muslim. Right.
Right.
Now, Islam is a religion as designated, but to any sane person, it meets the definition of a cult. Muhammad is nothing less than Manson. So some of the ways that we can identify a cult versus an actual religion are that, one, they're opposed to critical thinking. And we, the infidel, does this. We critically think.
Right.
2, they isolate members and they penalize them. So by forcing women to wear the hijab or the burqa, they're isolating them from, other women in other cultures and societies. And then they penalize them by having them live under this, strict regime of a morality police.
Right.
3, they emphasize special doctrines. Hello, jihad. That's probably the glaring one, right? 4, they seek inappropriate loyalty to their leaders. Now, Islam is a polygamist culture, and they advocate ridiculously young child marriage. So right there, that meets that criterion, right?
Right.
5, they dishonor the family unit. So to me, now a couple of these are a little confusing because I'm not sure if they mean, the indoctrinator wants to dishonor the family unit of the indoctrinatee, or
indoctrined.
Indoctrined. There you go. Thanks. Or if it's just in general. So for me, I kind of, qualified that by, the honor killings and the acid attacks that they are so quick to perpetuate whenever they're seen to feel disrespected or whatever it is.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's just the way I took it. 6, crossing boundaries of behavior. Well, heck, just turn on the television anywhere in any Western country today. But female genital mutilation, the murder of rape victims, killing, executing rape victims for being raped. That's kind of a boundary crossing behavior. And of course, the now crucifixion and execution of those who won't convert to Islam. So that one definitely qualifies.
They do crucifixion?
They do. They absolutely do. There's a 10-year-old. He's 14 now. But at 10, he participated in a protest, and they want to crucify and execute him.
That's really interesting to me. I've seen countless videos of beheadings. I've seen countless videos of dumping a bunch of people in a pit and shooting them all with AK-47s.
Tossing them off buildings, hanging them from cranes. We've seen that quite a bit.
Smashing planes into buildings. Yeah, wow. I've never seen Muslims crucify anybody.
Well, funnily enough, I've done a lot of, especially post 9/11, and Muhammad actually saw the Archangel Gabriel. That's what started him on his journey to feeling that he was the prophet of Islam.
Or that's what he said to get some street cred.
Right. Well, there is that too. Well, it's actually a very interesting history. And if you look at it from a secular psychological perspective, his father died, his mother died when he was 8. He was raised by a radical uncle. So if his parents had never died, we might not have Islam as we do now. Because it existed for hundreds of years before Muhammad came along.
Yeah.
And then it became just went in the toilet. Anyway. So lastly, separation from the group. So unlike Scientology, which deems you a suppressive person, Islamists will kill you for turning your back on Islam or refusing to convert. So to me, it meets all of those criteria that were, that needed to be examined.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, that tells me definitely.
Well, so who are the devotees exactly that want to insidiously become elected to our government so that they can disperse their sickness to our people that we know about so far? Well, we've got a list tonight.
We do. So far, yeah.
Just so far. And this, I don't think this list is all of them.
No, not even close to being exhaustive because quite a few of them are, the 2020 elections.
Yes.
So there's primaries first and all that kind of thing.
Right.
So Movita Johnson Harrell was a Democratic candidate for Pennsylvania House of Representatives District 190. That election was held on March 12, 2019. And if I'm not mistaken, she was elected. She did get that post.
Right.
Ali Saleh is a Democratic candidate for California State Senate in District 33. Saleh was running in the primary special election on March 26, 2019. He was defeated in that primary election, though. So, yay. Okay. So, Amar Kampa Najjar is a Democratic candidate for Congress in California's 50th district for the 2020 election. Kampa Najjar claims he's not a Muslim, but his grandfather was a Muslim terrorist. There you go.
If my grandpa was a Muslim terrorist, I would claim I'm not a Muslim, too.
Right. And you know what, though? Here's the kicker. The executive order about the association or affiliation with the foreign terrorist organization. Hello, why are they even here still? Anyway.
Well, this is kind of where I'm going with a lot of this stuff. There is no...
Right.
I mean, it falls under Homeland Security. It falls under the FBI because of the cult thing. It falls under so many different departments within our government to do something about or to have special task forces with. But I almost think...
All of them.
Because there's over 3.5 million Muslims in this country today. I almost think there needs to be another department actually headed up to handle. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, that just gives me a whole entire line of thought But yeah, great. So, well, we could. I mean, under one of any of those things you said, there should be cause to remove them.
Sure.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
Absolutely.
And that, again, therein lies the frustration for us all because we know there has to be a way to get them out. If the insidious and corrupt can use loopholes against us, what are we doing? We're just as smart, if not smarter. So why aren't, the good guys on our side doing that as well? And again, it goes back to that tip of the iceberg. We don't know anything.
Right.
All right, carrying on. Imtiaz Ahmad Muhammad is a Democratic candidate for Florida House of Representatives, District 104 for the 2020 election. Yeah, shocking. So Dr. Mohammed Modar Dar was a Democratic candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives in Massachusetts. Massachusetts? Hello, Boston. Really? District 8 in the 2020 election, but has dropped out of the race. Well, there you go. At least the Irish stood up and said, yeah, no, I don't think so. Anyway, at least that's what I can hope. I'll just use that to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Altaf Ahmed is a Democratic candidate for Broward County Commission, District 1 in the 2020 election.
Wow.
Yasmin Taib is a Democratic candidate for State Senate in Virginia's 35th District for the 2019 election. I did try to research. I have no clue. I couldn't find the results for that election. So I'm going to go with, I think, if memory serves, that she was elected. I don't know. It just rings a bell. I'm not sure. I'll double check. If anybody knows, just tweet me. Nabila Mansour is a candidate for, get this, Sugarland City Council District 2 in Texas, and she ran against Nashad Kermali.
Wow.
And Nabila was defeated, if I'm not mistaken. But in effing Texas? Seriously? What? Anyway, Mohammed Usman Ajaz was a candidate for Sugarland City Council District 1 in Texas, but he was defeated on May 4th. So some sanity still in Texas. Come on. God bless Texas. Really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Because you don't have enough problems with the border and you know, this, people coming from South America. And no, let's just, throw another problem on top. Anyway, Abrar Omish is a candidate for Fairfax County School Board in Virginia. I have an issue with the school board candidacy thing.
Okay, but it's also very telling.
Right. It's if you look at the positions, exactly. I'm with you. I hear you.
You see all these videos that we see on social media of all our kids being indoctrinated with Muslim in the schools. This is how they're doing it, because this person gets elected, goes to Fairfax County School Board there, and just approves all these things. Oh, yes, we'll begin doing this in our curriculum right away.
Right. And interestingly enough, now I'm going to bring this up because right before I went on air, I was just perusing through Twitter because I live on Twitter. And I did notice something, and I clicked on it, and it took me to an article that was about how Christians are complaining about the Muslim curriculum, but instead of removing the Muslim curriculum, they want to implement a counter-Christian curriculum.
No, it's a mistake.
I agree. We already have a separation of church and state. We already know that, aside from saying pledge allegiance and one nation under God, that's about the extent of what religion should be in our educational system, for the reason that it's going to start a war. Okay, well, you can have your religion in school. And then pretty soon our kids are going to be learning nothing but religious doctrine. And that's it. So not that they learn much more now, but I mean, that would be really crazy. Right, because then the Jews are going to want it, and then who else is going to want it? Every religion,
absolutely, and we should know this from history,
right?
And go to Ireland.
Well, that's why we don't do it.
How many school fights did the orange and the green have from grade 1 up?
Exactly.
Like, come on,
this is why we don't do it, and it's really setting up a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Because you're going to pit kids against each other too.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely, and isn't there enough of that already going on?
Right.
You don't need. No, you're just adding fuel.
Yep, I hear you. I agree. So I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be, but I know that I believe it was put before the Supreme Court. That it's now a Supreme Court decision.
Well, we should look for that decision.
Definitely will keep you abreast of that. I'll look into that some more. Make a note. All right. So Omar Sabir is a candidate for Philadelphia City Commissioner in Pennsylvania. The primary election was on May 21st, 2019. Again, I searched, I saw the website, I went and saw the promotional video, et cetera, but I didn't on his website or his promo stuff find out whether or not he was elected or not.
Interesting.
Yes. And here's a great factoid too. Philadelphia is the only municipality in the country with 3 elected officials who do nothing but oversee elections. Really?
All right. Who are those 3 people?
Well, I don't know, and it's kind of not relevant to what I was thinking, but my point was, isn't Pennsylvania like a really important swing state? Isn't it like a really important key state in elections, in national elections?
I don't understand that whole thing, because I'm still confused that if you're a state, you have state regulations and laws and rules as opposed or in regards to the federal government. I have no idea how commonwealths interact with the federal government.
Well, that's true too. I don't think the Commonwealth in relation to federal government is an issue. I think it's only in relation to how it governs itself. So it's like a practice socialist state.
Okay.
And look at the Commonwealths. They're horrible.
Yeah, and I think
Pennsylvania is a Commonwealth. I'm not sure how many. I know there's a bunch, but now that's something else. Make a note. I'd love to know how the Commonwealth states fare against other states. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Qasim Rashid is a candidate for Virginia Senate District 28th. That primary election was actually on June 11th, 2019. So I didn't have any updated statistics on that. But according to Jihad Watch, Qasim Rashid is Muslim Brotherhood.
Really?
Yes. So I did do that much research. All right. Ibrahim Moise is a Democratic candidate for the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors in Virginia.
Then they supervise what? I don't know.
I guess Loudoun County
Board of Supervisors is. Okay.
So Karoum Wahid is a candidate for the Coral Springs City Commission seat 2 in Florida. Another Florida. Mm-hmm. Mahmoud was a candidate.
What?
Mahmoud. Yes, Mahmoud. Mahmoud is a candidate for the New Jersey General Assembly, District 32. The primary was on June 4th, and thank God he lost.
Why? Was he exceptionally bad or just Mahmoud?
I did go to the website, and like there was another one that I saw, and he was actually young and spoke perfect English, was actually born here in the States. And you know, when you see somebody like that, it gives you pause. You know, you kind of have to double think and ask yourself, oh, you know, am I just being whatever?
No, don't do that.
I know, and then I catch myself and I remember.
I do that, and
I know it's a woman thing.
No,
well, I guess it's in.
You got to stop. I mean, I'm looking down this list you've got here. To me, it's like I'm reading the FBI's, top 50
and
most wanted.
When I say the things I say, like, okay, well, he doesn't sound so bad. Then I remember that I am stopping to look at the trees instead of the forest.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing. And I have to stop doing that. I have got to see the forest for the trees. I have to be smarter than that and see the overall plan.
I was talking to a Saudi Arabian who apparently was not a Muslim once, not long ago. And he told me that with these names, like Allah, Ahmed, blah, 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 those kind of names, the Allah,
the Mahmouds and the Ahmouds and the Ahmeds and the Ahmeds. And
those are African or they're Middle Eastern. But the bins, the bins are all okay because those are all the ones in Saudi Arabia, Masir al-Bubin Mahdi, whatever.
Right.
But he's having this conversation with me like he's enlightening me, and that all the Allah, those are all bad, and all the bins are good. And I'm, just thinking through this whole conversation. Well, what about Osama bin Laden? That's a bin, isn't it?
Right.
Wait, he was in Saudi, wasn't
That's
it?
right. He was a bin too.
Hello.
And he wasn't right.
Halal.
Right. Halal.
Yeah, like, so I'm sorry. Unless your name is Ted Jones, I'm suspect of you.
Right. I have to concur. I can't disagree.
And you know what? I gotta say, most of our listeners that I've been, I've been doing the social media thing across all these platforms.
Right.
And keeping an eye on our comments and interactions and stuff that we're getting. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, it is so nice. So nice. I was going down the Facebook page today, the like page of all the people who have liked the show on Facebook.
Right.
I can read all their names.
Right. Well, remember when
Susie Jones, Jack Thompson,
I know.
Billy Rusk.
I know. When I used to do tech support, for Apple or whatever, and my customers would call me and they'd be like, "Oh my God, are you an American? Really?
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh my
India
God,
too.
I'm so happy. Can I have your number in case my phone breaks again?
Just for fun, you should answer the phone. Hello, thank you for calling Apple.
Oh,
I am Bob.
That's funny too. They always use our names.
Yeah. I'm Bob. I'm Kate. I'm Jill.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Oh, Well, that was just an aside. Back to it. Okay, so where did I leave off? Mahmoud.
Qasar Hamid.
Mahmoud. Okay, so yes, the Qasar Ahmed is a candidate for the 3rd District seat in the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors in California for the 2020 election.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's what you want to do, California. Because you're not going into the drink fast enough.
The next one is one of my favorites here. Sharafat Hussein Babu. Say that 5 times fast.
No, a Democratic candidate for Virginia State Senate in the 33rd District. The election is on June 11th, 2019. So it just occurred, like the day before I wrote the show. So I have no clue what the results were.
Remember Virginia State, if you really want Senator Babu.
Right. Yeah, no.
Come on.
I don't know. Hey, he might have won, so don't even. I don't know. But Hassan Ahmad is a progressive Democrat. A Muslim progressive. That should be really interesting. Running for the Virginia House of Delegates, District 87. Again, the election was on June 11th, so no results found at the time of the show writing.
Again, I would have to submit that not only do these people not really understand our form of government, they certainly don't understand the nuances of the different affiliations.
See, I'm not sure. I don't think so. See, I think they understand it all too well. I think they're groomed and raised to understand it likely better than most Americans. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? It's a know your enemy thing, right?
I guess.
So there's only 2 strategies. There's only, outright come at me, bro. And then there is, insidious infiltration. That's it. There's only 2 strategies.
Yeah.
Right? So there you go. Okay. And Aisha Wahab is a progressive Democrat. Did I say that already? Running for Congress in California, District 15. I'm going to be just very racist now and say, well, they all sound alike.
Adil Saeed Ahmed.
Right, exactly. And these aren't in alphabetical order. Is a progressive candidate for commissioner in West New York, New Jersey. Okay. This is the one. This is the guy who's young. He was an attorney. I grew up in New Jersey, so I'm really familiar with Jersey. And he spoke really eloquently, perfect English. Like I said, he was born there, again, though, here's the funny thing.
No.
The election was on May 14th, and I scoured to find out because I was really curious, No results found. Whether he won or not, I checked the, United States ballot board. I checked all his websites. I checked his Twitter. I checked his social media. Nothing.
Maybe
really interesting.
He used to do some work for Hillary.
Perhaps. Maybe. Okay. So Sri Preston Kulkarni.
Oh, yeah. That's
is a Democratic
Muslim and Irish.
Democratic candidate for Congress in Texas, District 22 in the 2020 election. Another one in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I said years ago, and he'll tell you this, that they're going to come in the southern border because they can pass. I think I talked about that the other day on the show, too.
Yeah.
And now look,
yeah.
Who would have heard of them in Texas before? It's like, what? Anyway, Ghazala Hashmi is a Democratic candidate for Virginia State Senate District 10. The primary election was also on June 11th. She won that primary. So I do have the results for that.
Unfathomable.
Uh-huh. Well, it's only the primary, so she still has to run against our Republican candidate now.
Oh, yeah.
For the Senate. So Always Ghazi is a Democratic candidate for New Jersey General Assembly, District 29. He won the primary on June 4th, so now he's got to run against whatever the Republican is for that General Assembly. Zulfat Swara is a candidate for Nashville Metro Council at Large. Okay, the election's on August 1st. This one should be a hoot. Zulfat Swara in Nashville, the home of American country music, Grand Ole Opry. What?
It's absolutely stunning. Like I'm looking at I just can't believe it. Like,
it doesn't get
this
more
country
American than Nashville, Tennessee.
Toast. What the hell?
Right.
I don't know.
Shahid Buttar is a candidate for Congress in Shocker, California, District 12. Okay.
Wow.
So what do these 25 Muslims running for seats in American government have in common?
Well, you know what? I'm going to go way out there on a limb and guess that they're all Democrats.
Bing, 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 bing. Yep, that's exactly right.
Of course.
So, And I have to say, this was Deplorable Kel. Thank you for the list here. I've not seen a Republican Muslim, interestingly.
A republism?
Right, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't, but as far as I've not yet seen.
Just a point I got to bring up here. It would seem to me, just thinking, trying to be common sense logical here, it would seem to me that Muslims, whether extremist or not, are, and I would dare anybody to argue with me on this, are very traditional. Their traditionals are backwards and effed up, but they're very traditional.
Right.
Seems to me that politically, even though don't get me wrong, it does not fit, does not compute, absolutely not.
I know what you're going to say.
I think they would more be in line with Republicans for a lot of different things.
Right. Well,
they're
what does that
against
tell
homosexuality, so why would you be a Democrat?
Well,
that's a big what?
Right, exactly. But listen to me. This is exactly what should be the red flag, the spinning siren.
Yeah.
Is, that they're here under false pretenses and that everything they're attempting to do isn't accurate, isn't true. I've
said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it until I'm in my grave, whether a Muslim puts me there or not. If you're a Muslim, and you come to North America, to the Western world, to Europe, you're literally making the decision and moving to and living in hell.
Everything against what you're supposed to be living.
You're going to immerse yourself in the world of the infidel.
Right, but
don't
that's
do that.
Because their religion mandates that they go out and convert the entire world into Islam.
Okay, well, how come all the mass exodus out of these Middle Eastern and African countries all of a sudden in the last couple of years?
Well, it's because we talked about this already on the other show. It's because Obama opened the door for it. They couldn't come in here before, at least not in the way that they did. Now we've made it okay, and then the liberal, machination of oh, you can't say that and not let them in, and where's your compassion, and you're a racist bigot, and all this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, not everybody can look at them and say, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Like I can. Right. And that's the problem.
Right.
So until we all look at them and say, okay, yep, we own that. Now what are you going to do? There's really very little else we can do. And I think it does start in that kind of private sector too. And social media is a big arena for that, obviously, right? So, whenever anybody calls you a racist or a bigot or a xenophobe or an Islamophobe online, you just say, yep, I'll own that. If it means shutting you up and getting you out of my country, absolutely. Because that's what I do.
But it doesn't, though. It means
but I've not gotten a response back.
And them carrying on.
You don't understand. I've never gotten a response back to that. But when you argue with somebody and no, I'm not a racist, here's why. Then it's just this endless cycle of insanity. You want to tear your hair out and just bite a piece of wood or something after that conversation.
Right.
But if you just own it, right, they have no response to that. They literally don't.
I mean, that's great for arguing with libs, but that doesn't do anything. It doesn't, there's no...
I submit it doesn't do anything because we're all not doing it. I'm here looking for solutions and I'm looking for strategies. I'm just imparting some of mine. Some of my more successful ones too. So there you go. Okay.
I won't say that everything you tweet isn't sheer brilliance and should be retweeted to, the tune of 50,000 each, but
well, thank you.
Yeah, I don't see any of that as being constructive.
Well, that's because you, again, my weird bird husband, you don't care what anybody tweets you. You don't care what anybody says. You'll make a snarky joke back. And that's
because
it.
What are they? They're words. What interests me are actions. And what are the actions we're talking about today? We're talking literally about a Muslim invasion and the taking over of our government.
Second.
That's
Play
what we're talking
something patriotic on the music because our Constitution is just words. Every the Emancipation Proclamation was just words. Every famous quote that inspires young men and, well, now women to go into war and fight for those they left behind are just words. The JFK's last speech that got him killed was just words. That's where it starts.
And I would submit that it's how a person is raised and what their core values are and what their character is that would institute a level of value to any of those words. Because most people these days don't even understand them, I don't think.
Agreed. But okay, let's look at, the psychology of development too. I mean, we all operate at this place and we all go through these developmental phases. And a great majority of these progressive liberals are either pre or just post, where the brain actually has the capacity for that kind of mature multi-line thinking in that way.
Right.
So it's I believe more than ever, just because you say something and somebody says F you doesn't mean that it's not going to pop up in their subconscious at some point in the future. You know what I mean? And that's what we do with our kids, right? We say things over and over and over and over and over. And then, someday in their 20s, they parrot it back to us. And we're like, oh, you did hear me, because that's the way it goes. And people are people. Human nature doesn't change. So I think that that's definitely something. It's a strategy we need to employ. Don't argue, just own it and watch. They're going to start cricketing because there's not anything they can say back to that.
No, it's an interesting strategy.
They want you to argue it. They want you to say, no, I'm not a racist. I'm as good a person as you or better. And they'll never think you're a good person. They'll believe what they want to believe anyway. Yeah. So just, own it. Just own it. The minute we stop being worried about what other people think about us and start being worried about what's actually going on, then things will start to change for real. Right. I believe, anyway. All right. So it brings me to the third poll spot, though. Uh-huh. Not using Article 4, Section 4, of the Constitution.
Well, let me enlighten the folks on what that is.
Okay. Be my guest.
Quote, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or of the executive, in brackets, when the legislature cannot be convened, end brackets, against domestic violence.
End quote.
End quote.
Right. Okay, so to me, the first part about guaranteeing that every state has a Republican form of government means, in the scheme of solutions anyway, that the correction is going to have to occur at the state level. And we see this all the time. New York, California, all the liberal states, they just want, free stuff for everybody. They don't care about, the walking dead on their streets, the zombie drug addicts and the,
right.
The immigrants bringing Ebola into the country and stuff. They just want to, thumb their noses at, big government, at the rest of us. So we really need a red Senate because they're the ones that legislate at the state level and can add that much needed balance to the Congress, right?
Right.
So we need enough states to go to the mat to say enough. No more non-Americans in my state. No more of this in my state. There will not be Muslims in our state government. And if they can't make it to state government, they can't make it to federal government.
Right, and we really do need these states to take a stand, when we're sitting here now, just going past all the ones that are being elected.
Right, and they're doing they'll get in as dog catcher because it's their foot in the door. Right. They don't care.
Right.
And, they're playing the long game. They've been doing this for thousands of years. Another decade isn't going to mean anything to them.
No.
They just get to live off our benefits in the meantime. That's it. So Trump has some of the best constitutional attorneys at his disposal. And he knows that all but the scummiest, and legislative branch won't try to undermine in the long term the Constitution the country was founded on. Of course, I wouldn't put it past the scummiers.
Right. Yeah.
But the majority, when actually in front of them, they have the power to either uphold the Constitution or destroy everything this country was founded on.
Right.
I think the weight of that will actually... Well, again, it could be me, and he'll tell you I definitely give everybody the benefit of the doubt way too much.
It's a crapshoot. Yeah.
It is a crapshoot, 100%. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but we do have to exercise patience until a more suitable and immediately, beneficial action can be found. So here's another interesting thing, though. In the course of my research, I found that the second part of the definition of a republic, which this article and section guarantees, means a government in which supreme power is held by the citizens entitled to vote, so that would be us, And that is simply exercised by the elected officers and representatives governing according to law. So clearly our elected officers and representatives are not exercising our voting preferences, or they'd support the administration we put in there, and they're not going to actively subvert and openly defy what is beneficial for this nation by putting non-citizens above citizens.
There just needs to be a clause, full stop, across the board with any of these representatives. You know, if they're going to do anything that's contrary to either their platform or promises made,
or the nation's interest, just, you know, at the basic level.
Right.
I mean, Ilhan Omar has done just about everything except pee on the American flag and set it on fire in the House.
Wait, give it another week or
Well, that's
so,
what I'm saying. I mean, how much does it take? When is enough enough?
Yeah.
I mean, 25 years ago, there would be a collective gasp around the nation just at her face and her freaking hijab in the House. But what I'm saying is it would never have gotten this far.
No.
And this is the stuff people don't understand. Liberals want to say diversity is our strength. Oh, you retard. Since when is diversity our strength? Unity is our strength. You know, our shared values is our strength.
Not the United Syria of America.
And not this melting pot, because all a melting pot makes is what? Sludge and a mess. That's all it makes. You know, and I go back to that, you know, when I was a kid and I would go to Chinatown, or I'd go to Little Italy, or, you know, there was a fascination to learn about other cultures and a respect for those other cultures.
Sure.
And we don't have any of that here anymore because everybody's forced to live with each other and forced to accept and love everybody else's culture. And forced, I mean, God forbid I say, ew, kimchi. I mean, you know, I'll still say ew, kimchi. And I think I said ew, kimchi there, but I didn't say it to my Korean friend's parents when I was over there for dinner.
Was that Kim Jong-un's kid?
And okay, I'm going to do a little aside here because it's funny. But I honestly, in all honesty, swear 100%. I had a friend in grammar school, and she was Korean, South Korean, and she immigrated to America. And her name, you ready? We need a drum roll for this stuff. I'm serious. Her name was Mi Suk-yu.
Oh, yeah.
I told you this story, right? And the kids at school, they teased her terrible. And I was always the one that felt bad for anybody that would make anybody feel bad or bully anybody. So, you know, I brought her home, and, you know, she loved the American. And my mother made her, like, you know, spaghetti and stuff because I was raised Italian in New Jersey, right? And she took me to her house in repayment, and made me a Korean meal. And that kimchi, you know what that is, right? It's fermented cabbage. It's really spicy. Mm-hmm. It's not a Kate thing. Just no. So, yeah, but I was polite. I mean, you know, nowadays I can't even, well, I guess they don't even do that sort of thing anymore. I remember when our oldest was 10 and she had a bunch of friends over from school. Not one of them knew how to set a table. Not one. And, you know, our kids set the table and they clean up after dinner and stuff, but none of them. I was like shocked. So I guess that was the first inclination that we're all going downhill. But I digress. You know, I'm going to revert back to the so many fronts argument of the last episode and my conviction that this multi-front attack is planned by the cabal. And unfortunately, this administration is also understandably hesitant to call for national martial law, which is what I'd do if I were the president, and round up the southern border invaders and send them in the hell back, and also intern the Muslims until we can have them completely and thoroughly vetted, and that's it. I mean, global response would go one of two ways: outcry and liberal pressure, or every single other Western nation would stand up and cheer and do the same thing. And we're seeing this now with, you know, the UK's move towards more conservatism, and also in Australia, complete upset that, well, it's called the Liberal Party over there, but it's actually the Conservative Party, what we would call the Conservative Party. And they swept the elections there. And they've always been incredibly tough on immigration. Australia won't if you come by a boat, you can't get on the island. They won't let you immigrate that way. No boatloads of refugees coming to Australia. It's just not, it doesn't happen.
No.
And they don't have nearly the immigration issues we do. So, you know.
Well, another reason for that, too, would be, I think, no.
No.
Okay.
It's just the way it is. And they have, Australia is roughly the size of North America, but they have like literally a quarter of our population, and they don't have the immigration problem, and they're surrounded by Muslim nations. Australia, they're surrounded
by water.
Indonesia is almost all Muslim.
Really?
All the countries in that Pacific Rim area down there, they're almost all Muslim. So if anybody would have gotten invaded first, it would have been them. And thank goodness that they had the policies that they had,
Well, I think another reason for that, too, is a lot of those boat people that you're talking about.
Well, they had Sri Lankan refugees stationed at a boat off of, I can't remember now. But they wanted to come to Australia and they wouldn't let them. They were headed off at the pass. Heck no, they said.
Yeah, well, that's because they're not afraid to say heck no.
Right.
And I don't see a problem with the president declaring national martial law. Absolutely not. I mean, I don't understand why he's not doing a lot of the things that I think he should be doing in light of the things that are happening.
Right. Well, I think the main reason is it would give everybody who thinks he's Putin's puppet and a tyrant and a dictator and bought off and all this kind of stuff, I think it would validate that opinion if he did that. So I do think it would be a mistake for him to do that. Obviously, the best course of action is to, make your enemy submit to what you want for whatever reason. That's a true win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think as a last resort, absolutely, if it should get... I saw a tweet today that said, I don't want to have a civil war when, Congress is red and, all the branches are liberal and, Sharia law has been implemented and all of these terrible things have already occurred. I don't want to engage in a civil war then. Then it'll be too late. Then we'll be at
you see, that's kind of the way they kind of go. You see, a lot of people don't want one at this particular point, but they don't want one when it's this way because it's bad, but not that bad. Yeah, there comes that time when people say, okay, well, that's it. That's enough. Get the guns. Let's go.
Right.
Well, when that happens, that's usually when, Sharia law is implemented
right.
and the whole country is literally gone to crap. And
right. So I definitely understand the concerns and, all that kind of stuff. And it's a tough call. I mean, it's a tough call because it's, it's not just you, right?
No.
It's everybody you love that is going to be jumping into this fray as well. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, we're going over. We always do, but that's fine. So let's talk about other because it took the number 2 spot.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, for the first time this episode. Some responses included at Scott_ back in said, the pacification of the American man. And we're definitely going to have a show on this because I'm the expert at not the pacification part, but the pacification part and the stoppage of that, right?
Right.
PC stuff, absolutely. We already know that political correctness is just a tactic of liberalism. Failure of our government to protect borders, which is already what we already covered a little bit, but I'm sure it's an ongoing discussion because it's not changed yet.
No.
Foreign aid. What about U.S. citizen aid? Well, yeah, we say that all the time. Absolutely. We talk about that all the time.
I've been saying that since the 70s.
Right. I think in both instances, both that we give American-hating nations money and aid that we should never do. Now they can hate us for free. And also to the non-citizens here that are getting all the benefits that needy Americans should be getting.
See, and I thought when President Trump took office, all that foreign aid would stop immediately.
Well, a great deal of it has stopped, but don't forget, he's still bound by the UN. We have to disperse with the UN, full stop.
Bound by the UN? I thought we'd pulled out of the UN.
Well, it's not as simple as that. Obviously, what are we going to look like if it's full stop? But we know that the UN is an evil, like it's like chaos headquarters for the cabal, really. Technically, if you want to think of it that way. That's the literal way I see that. So that's I'm not even touching that. I'm not even touching that right now. But that will come up because that's a great hindrance to us being able to do that, you know. And they support, the UN comprises, you know, human rights violators like China and Saudi Arabia, and yet they have the nerve to think they can be moral police on what we do in our own country. And it, so that has to be addressed at some point. But again, too many fires to put out. We can't put them all out. We got to let some smolder for a while. So also, Scott wanted to talk about income tax, property tax, and all the other unnecessary taxes. I hear you. Especially if our taxes are now going to go pay to, you know, give medical care to non-citizens. That's just unacceptable. And I think that'll be our Boston Tea Party if that actually gets passed. And we have to work, and our taxes are going to increase so we can care for illegals and pay for their medical care and their housing and stuff, when most of us don't even have decent health insurance.
Whoever even proposed this should be kicked out of the country.
Pelosi.
Right.
Who else?
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Yeah.
Free speech, that's another huge one, and that's getting addressed. Thankfully, the president signed that executive order about free speech on college campuses, which is kind of critical because, you know, they're getting to that critical thinking, brain development age, and, you know, they shouldn't just have the liberal doctrine, you know, drilled into their heads.
No.
So I think that's a good start, but I think it should extend to the anti-censorship, and that if there's such a thing actually as free speech, that everybody can be free to say what they want. Did you know that honk is now unacceptable to use on Facebook because it violates their terms of service? The word honk, H-O-N-K.
Why?
Not a clue. Utterly not a clue. And I sat there and I tried to think of a derogatory way to say honk. And the only way I could think of was hunky. And if anybody should be offended, then it's me, and I'm not. So I'm not getting that. Just insane. So if anybody knows why hunk is a forbidden term on Facebook now, then please tweet me and let me know, because it's a conundrum. All right. And Scott said something really interesting. And we might have to actually do a segment on this in the future, but that gay people should thank straight people for having them.
Yeah. Honestly, that last one is kind of a good point.
There you go. See? All right. And Kareen74 at Kareen74, of course, tired of waiting. She wants asses in cuffs. Obama spied and covered up Hillary's crimes, and everybody knows it. So, you know, asses in cuffs time. And again, I get the frustration, I really do, but we're not them, and we can't act out of frustration and mess up the whole thing. So we're going to employ master strategist Sun Tzu's tactics and not enter a battle until we have already won it. And are sure we've won.
Then I hate to break it to you and Master Sue there, but if you've already won it, then you don't have to go to battle.
Well, there you go. And exactly.
Right, so that...
Okay, stop and think about what you just said. What would Trump...
By definition, means you do nothing.
No. I said stop and think about what you just said. So Trump can put all of us into this incredibly tense period of time, not only with our fellow Americans, but with everybody else on the planet, by just rushing headlong in, declaring, you know, martial law and giving the finger to Russia and China and all the other countries, and, you know, do what we do, or you suck, or do whatever. Or he can do it the way he's doing it. And then there's no need to put anybody else ancillarily in any kind of danger or jeopardy or disrupt us in any kind of way too much. He's doing everything he can to kind of keep us from that, while doing what he can to win. And then once it's won and we're safe, and nothing else that anybody can do is going to be detrimental to our plan or any one of us, will we then enter in that final battle, because we've already won the war.
Okay.
So, okay, I guess you have to think as a strategist, because I understand it. It makes sense to me. So.
Me no thinky we win.
Well, we already have, because remember what I said. I think that this has been planned for decades. I don't think that this is something that's just come up since Obama and Hillary. I really don't.
Okay, well, and again, if that's the way it is, then that just... leads me to even more
confusion.
Wonder what the heck is going on.
Well,
then
look,
you should really know what's
Hold the phone. So Bush killed JFK. JFK's last speech talked about the secret societies and the cabal and all that. Oh, yeah, it was Bush. Anyway, yeah.
What? Bush. George Bush.
George Bush. Not
Senior.
Yes, sir.
1,000 points alive.
Yes, sir.
Really?
At the time of JFK's presidency, what was George Bush?
National Security Advisor.
Do we have that back then?
I don't know.
He was something like that. But anyway, yep. You do that really well, by the way. You're really going to love Flag and Guns because we can let our funny, really good stuff come out. Anyway, dang it. I hate when you do that. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, okay. So
apparently, former President Bush had former President John F. Kennedy killed.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, you'll see. Pay attention. So it started way back.
Well, it's a good thing we're not conspiracy nuts.
No, I'm not. I'm a conspiracy realist. So that's the way it went along. And I believe that Obama and Hillary were just our happy screw-ups that enabled all of this. That, the law of averages says that you can only do something for so long, whether it's good or bad, before it comes crashing down because nothing lasts forever. Right? So this has been going on for so very long that this was just, Hillary and Obama were just the perfect storm of what we needed. And of course, the immense level of corruption in all the, lettered agencies and all of that sort of thing. It was just the perfect convergence that allowed the plan to actually be executed when it did. So if Obama had never gotten into office, none of this might have happened. Like Trump might have never run, and none of this would be like it is. Trump ran in a direct response to Obama being elected.
Yeah.
Which is why he already started harassing him like a month after he got into office.
Yeah.
Even before he got elected, I think, with the birth certificate and all that sort of thing. So honestly, I feel that this was a very long planned thing, and that it was just a good thing that Hillary and Obama were like, Laurel and Hardy, and that's the way it went. Unfortunately, a lot of people had to get hurt in the process, though.
And still are every day.
Well, no. Well, I guess. There was a great tweet about the death list today, too. Oh, and at Blue Reaganite said that he wants Trump to have a new nickname for Hillary, call her Grandma Death. I like it. I tweeted it to the POTUS.
All right.
So, definitely. Okay, so funny about our border, and at Molly is back 178 said that wanted to talk about the border.
Yeah.
But as was echoed by Scott, and I was appalled to read that the privately built crowdfunded section of the wall has been ordered to be kept open indefinitely by authorities, actually locked with a padlock open now, as the organizers supposedly failed to obtain the proper permits. Well, I'd keep them open.
Yeah, and I'd post a couple of vicious dogs at the gate while you lie in wait in the dark with a loaded M1A 65 Creedmoor 762.
Right, exactly.
I don't get this at all.
I know you've always had a problem with the crowdfunded private wall on private property, which
irrelevant. I'm sorry. A country's borders, they're not privately owned.
Right.
Not even a part of them.
So
Sorry.
we kind of appreciate the sentiment, but I think
our sovereignty isn't based on
how much
Bob's
money.
ranch. Well, I'm Bob, and I'm keeping the ranch open because I'm a liberal. No,
Yeah.
you can't do that. Sorry. National security.
Right. Well, there is that too.
National security concerns, Bob.
I
Eat
understand.
a bag.
I hear you. Well, all right. How long were we today?
We're bang on the money.
Oh, awesome. Yes.
I always keep you
I know,
going like
you
that
do.
so you think you're always behind. It's awesome.
Okay, cool. Finding our show legs. All right. Well, listen, thank you for staying with us for tonight's episode of the War Room. Please follow us on Twitter at WarRoom 2019. Follow me at Real Fierce Kitty and Crash at Unreal CJT.
That's right. And if you're watching the video, stay tuned to the credits, of course, at the end here for shout-outs and links. And also, if you're enjoying our show, please like, subscribe, and hey, share it to other like-minded people That's what we're talking about.
Yes. You want more? Then subscribe to our exclusive and commercial-free programming on Patreon. Starting today until June 25th, supporting the War Room on Patreon at any level will get you a free subscriber-level subscription to our other upcoming channels. The trailer for Realm is going to be dropping this weekend, and shortly thereafter, our newest lighthearted look at our America with our newest show, Flag and Guns. Felony will follow soon after, and then The Analyst, where I can get back to my film roots and break down film and television as only a fierce kitty can. This, making quality media, is what we do.
Yes, it's literally our day job.
That's right. And with your collective support, we can do more of it bigger than ever before.
That's right. And remember, new episodes of The War Room drop every Thursday and Sunday. We may not speak our gratitude in words, but it is everlasting. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
30 seconds. "15 seconds. 10 seconds. 5 seconds.